maybe not proper, but I want to get as low as possible. Real quick, before we get into the video, if you are people of Phoenix, Arizona, I repeat, Phoenix, Arizona, come through K-Sport Slamagram Car Show, 4 to 8 p.m. today, December 14th. Come through. General admission is free. You can enter your car for $5 or bring canned goods. I got so excited because it's an indoor-outdoor facility. It's one of my favorite buildings, like in all of Phoenix. It is going to be the sickest show. I'm so pumped. I did the whole entire Focus. Wheels, wrap, tires, suspension. It looks completely different. So come check it out. Come say what's up. I better see you there. Information in the description. Today we're installing K-Sport Kontrol Pro Coilovers on the Focus ST build we got going on right now. I'm stoked about these. If you are on the budget, you want to get low, you want to handle good, you want to do it right, you get the Kontrol Pro K-Sport coilovers. These are the absolute move, like I said again, and I mean it. I had them on my 350Z, and that car went from handling good stock to like handling really good and extremely predictable when we were drifting. Now the Focus ST is front wheel drive, so it's a different story. So maybe we're going around corners and we're pulling out of them with the front wheel drive. We're gonna handle it even better. We're gonna get more traction, etc. We got a rear motor mount coming up next. So between these and the rear motor mount, we're gonna lose some wheel hop and get some more traction. So let's pop this guy open. I got my orange knife right here. I have a link in the description if you guys wanna check these out. If you're an OG here, this is the one thing that I didn't do on my Mazda Speed 3 that we started this channel on that I wish I would have done. There's a playlist on the channel for the Mazda Speed 3 build as well. And let's pop these babies open. First one right here. Ooh, we got the front right. And then if you guys didn't know, this is how you adjust your ride height. You don't do the spring and compress it. You twist this guy. This is where you adjust it for your height. Everyone messes that up. You already learned something right away. We're all about building confidence in the garage. That is what Karma Speed is about. But let's take a look at these up close. Awesome product. Feel heavy, robust. We even looks like we have some adjustment on the top right here. And then this is where it mounts under the hood. In the middle, we have our tools that we need. These are for adjusting the dampening and the top. This guy right here, if we want to go hard or soft, we can do it on the fly. Back here, the springs for the rear. Oh, this is cool. It's like an adjustment you can do on the fly instead of the little key. You have this thing you twist hard or soft right there. Most coilover situations, you have 4 full coilovers. This is a full coilover. It has a shock absorber through the middle. You've got your adjustment rings and then your lock ring to adjust how hard you want your ride to be with the spring portion of it, and then you adjust the top dampening portion of it with the keys. So you have the adjustment of the spring, and then you have the dampening of the top from the shock absorber. Now for the rear, the shock absorber is separate from the spring. So here's the shock absorber, basically a coilover without the spring around it. You adjust the height of the shock absorber the same way as a normal coilover, and then you twist these guys right here to adjust how you want your ride to be, hard or soft. But here is where you adjust your ride height. You have your spring and your lower control arm. So this is what's called a spring perch. Now this sits inside the lower control arm, and in between here is where your lower control arm is going to be hypothetically until we get into the install. Now you have your adjustment ring and your lock ring. So your adjustment ring is what you're going to change your ride height with, and then you're going to suck up the lock ring to it so it cannot spin down anymore and it's locked in place. So this is how much adjustment we have for the rear to get the desired height we want. And once we get that in place, we're going to go back and make sure that our shock absorber is at the proper height, and we'll get into that in the install. But that is simplified how this system works. Removing these 2 air vents on top of the cowling, take a Torx bolt off and then a 10mm I believe underneath. Now we're going to remove the windshield wipers. There's a nut, and then you got to press on this joint into the glass. I repeat, into the glass. You got to break it loose so it gets flat on that bolt because there is a spline on it, kind of like an axle. Now there's 3 tabs right here on this cowling. Those are metal. They're kind of hard to get off. Now we're going to go to the top of this coilover, loosen all the bolts, leave one in, so when we jump on this to get it off, it stays in. Now we're going to remove our brake line from the side of it so it's dangling, and then we're also going to remove our sway bar link from it. Now the sway bar link does like to spin in there. It's like a ball joint, so I have to grab the back of it with some pliers so it doesn't spin. I had a really hard time with it. I'm like, let's take the hammer to it. That still didn't work. I kind of torqued on those pliers a little bit more, and I finally got it to break loose because it is going to spin behind it, and there's no nut to grab on, so you have to get something to pinch it hard enough to where it won't spin. Now we're going to go on the back side here and break off the section of the bottom of the coilover. It sits in the I don't know what that's called, where it sits in there like this. That's where it sits in, and then we're going to put a piece of metal in between there, and we put the bolt in backwards with the threads, and it's going to separate it when we push it. So we put that bolt in backwards, separated it. Now I messed up that ball joint, so I had to put it back, and now I can jump on it, and our stock suspension, coilover, strut, whatever you want to call it, will pop out. This is difficult. You're going to have a lot of patience needed to make this happen. Took my roommate out here. It was a nightmare, but I finally got it, and this is what we did. New coilover, you twist it to the left if you want to change the ride height, or the right to lower it or make it higher. And then we have our lock rings, and then you want to measure from the top to the top of the bottom lock ring for the ride height adjustment to make sure that the other one is the same, so both of the sides of the car are the exact same. We're going to put it up here. We're going to use our jack to line it up in those 3 holes, and we're going to put the nuts on the top. All's lined up, all's good. Now we're going to mount our sway bar back on, and then we'll get to our brake line in a sec. Now I'm going to tighten these up now that everything's in place. All's good to go. I tightened the lower bolt, put everything back. Brake line's good, zip tied, ready to rock. Throw our wheel back on, and let's check out that ride height. Nice. Now, to the rear, there's a bolt to the back. Mini impact didn't work. I had extension, don't do that. Had to get as much leverage as I can. Break it loose slowly. Watch your hand on that brake dust saver, cover, whatever you want to call it. It'll cut you. Now you're going to hit the lower control arm softly with a mallet or a hammer. Spring's going to pop out. We're going to take our 2 bolts off the top up there of our shock, and then the lower one as well. Couldn't get enough leverage, so I put a pry bar on it and came from the back side of the car and broke it off. Then I could get it hand loose and got it out. Now we're going to pull off our rubbers on the top and bottom of the lower control arm. We're going to take our lock ring off and put only where the spring sits on for the lower perch. Now this isn't, I guess, ideal, maybe not proper, but I want to get as low as possible for the ride height I want. That's what we had to do, is get rid of that lock ring, and that's fine. I snugged it up. It should be good to go. We're going to snap it into our lower control arm. We're going to put the rubber on top, only on top, and slide it back onto our lower perch, and then we're going to go ahead and put it up there with the jack, line up where our bolt goes, and put that back in. And then we should be ready to go to test our ride height. We're not going to put our shocks in. We're going to do both springs on both sides, remove the shocks, and only have the new aftermarket springs in to make sure our ride height is good before we put our shocks. Now this is extreme low for this setup, and I have the shocks at the lowest setting so that 1/3 of the piston is inside the shock, and that is what the directions call for. So you're going to see we're going to test the ride height as soon as we get the wheels down and on in a sec. Let's bounce on it. Let it set in a little bit. Cool. That's totally fine with me. I don't like to get too close. I want to drive this car hard. I don't want to have anything rubbing, breaking, any scraping, stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and put our shock back in, and everything's good to go. It's the next day. The car is done. I'm super hyped. I wish the rear could get a little lower, but we got to work with the separated spring from the shock. It's not ideal for getting low, but I could go a smidge lower, but this honestly works for me. I don't like to push it too much because I like to drive my cars pretty hard. So if you guys want to see it, here it is. Pretty hyped. It's my first hatchback with good fitment. My Speed 3, I didn't have any money or resources to do anything, so I left at stock height, and it was pretty bad. Looked decent, but not ideal. So now we're like barely tucking in the front, going a little aggressive to keep that traction and that wheel hop down, and then the rear is settling in still. Looks pretty good, especially from this angle. I'm really hyped. It's pretty aggressive looking, and just wait till we get wheels on it later this week. Other than that, the car is filthy. I'm about to start filming for prepping for wrapping the car. Like, if you look at the front, it is way lower now. pretty stoked. Keep your eyes peeled. You'll be learning how to prep a car for vinyl wrap, and we'll be going into hopefully some details on vinyl wrapping and doing it yourself. You can order the vinyl on karmaspeed.com. There's a little vinyl tab now at the top. And wheels will be here on Friday. Hayden, who reached out, who watches the videos, found my Instagram story. He's like, yo, I'm going to LA. I can pick up wheels for you. Because I said, hey, is anyone going to LA? He said, I'm going. I can pick them up. I said, dope. Because the wheels I want are back ordered. And so those should be here Friday when they get back. And then Saturday morning, first thing, getting tires put on. And then trying to hopefully have the car wrapped by then. And then we'll get the wheels on and drive straight to Slam and Graham K-Sport USA car show. It's at their headquarters. It's like the raddest building. So if you guys are in the Phoenix area, like within remotely close, please come out. It's that Saturday at 4 p.m. I'll have a link in the description to the information to the Facebook event. So go hit it up, and I'll probably be filming the reveal video of this car for the exterior looks of it. There, that's the goal. So I don't know if I can pull that off by myself. So if any of you vinyl wrapping homies are around, shoot me a message on Instagram if you're in the Phoenix Valley and you want to come help out. I don't know. I know I can do the job myself. That's not a question. But getting it done fast enough is a question. So hit the button on the screen for the playlist of the Focus build. Stay up to date with what's going on. This car's going to be done pretty soon, but we have some good performance mods coming still and all the exterior stuff, so it's going to be dope. Appreciate it. See you on the playlist.